There are 11 strange vegetables growing wild across this country right now, and most folks have never heard of a single one of them. One of them, the one waiting at number 1, kept the pilgrims at Plymouth alive through the winter that should have killed every last one of them. It is nearly 3 times the protein of a potato, and it is likely growing within a mile of where you sit tonight. Picture a spring morning up on the ridge, the ground still cold and dark under your boot. Just beneath it, hidden in the dirt, hangs a string of little brown beads on an underground vine, and each one is food. The people who lived here before us dug them by the basketful. We walked right over them and forgot. Stay with me, friend, because that little string of beads is the strangest food story in this whole country, and almost nobody alive today can name it. For about 100 years now, you have been taught that there are maybe 10 vegetables in the world. Carrots, potatoes, onions, corn, a head of lettuce, a tomato. You walk into the store and that is the whole map. But that map is a lie of omission, and here is the honest truth of it. We did not lose these plants because they failed us. We lost them because, starting around the 1920s, industrial agriculture made a choice. It chose a small handful of crops that ship well, store for weeks, and look the same in every box. The strange ones, the ones with knobby skins and odd shapes and short seasons, got left behind, not because they were poor food, because they could not survive a 1,000-mile truck ride and a month on a shelf. This was not a conspiracy, friend. It was just money, plain and simple, the way markets always work, and your grandmother, and her grandmother before her. They knew these plants by name. They fed whole families on them, so it is not on you that you never learned them. You were handed a shorter list and told it was the whole world. Tonight, I am handing the long list back to you. My name is Amos, and for 60 years I have dug roots and gathered wild food up in these mountain hollows, the same plants my grandmother named for me before I could read. I am not a doctor, and this is not medical advice, so know your plants before you ever eat them. Real quick before we start, most folks who watch this channel are not subscribed. If you like the old plants and forgotten foods growing wild across this country, go ahead and hit subscribe. It is free and it helps an old root man keep making these. Alright, let us count them down from 11 all the way to 1, starting with number 11. Number 11 looks like something that fell out of the sky. Kohlrabi. If you have ever seen one, you did not forget it, because it is a pale green or purple bulb, round as a baseball, with little stems poking out all over it like the arms of a spaceship. Folks call it the alien vegetable, and they are not wrong. It is not a root, though it grows near the ground. It is a swollen stem, a member of the cabbage family, cousin to broccoli and kale. German immigrants brought it over in the 1800s, and it took hold up in Minnesota and Wisconsin where the cold suited it fine. Now here is the surprise. It does not taste like cabbage at all. Peel it, bite it raw, and it is sweet and crisp, somewhere between a broccoli stem and a fresh apple with a little pepper to it. Your do it now with this one is simple. Next time you see one of those alien bulbs at a farmer's market, buy one, peel it, slice it, and eat it raw with a little salt. That is the whole lesson. But the odd shape is nothing next to number 10, a plant so stubborn it grows right up through the cracks in your sidewalk. Number 10 grows where nothing is supposed to grow. Wild mustard. You have walked past it 1,000 times without a glance, coming up green through a crack in the pavement along the roadside in the corner of a parking lot. It is one of the toughest greens on this continent. In the spring, out in the California wine country, whole hillsides turn gold with it, a sea of little yellow flowers between the grapevines, and most people driving by have no idea they are looking at food. The young leaves are peppery and sharp, like a green with a bite of horseradish in it. Cook them down like you would collards and the sharpness mellows right out. The seeds, if you let the plant flower and gather them, are the very same seeds that get ground into the mustard on your table. Indigenous peoples and settlers alike ate this green early in the year when nothing else was up yet. Your action here is a careful one. Find a patch well away from the road and the sprayed edges, pick a handful of the young leaves, and cook them like spinach. But whatever you do, do not gather greens from a roadside that has been sprayed. That is a rule you never break. And speaking of greens, number 9 was the favorite of a founding father. Number 9 sat on the table of a president. Corn salad, some call it mache, others call it lamb's lettuce. It is a small, low rosette of soft, spoon-shaped leaves, tender as butter, with a mild, nutty taste, nothing like the bitter greens folks expect. And here is the named proof for you. Thomas Jefferson grew this very plant in his garden at Monticello, and the records show he was saving its seed as far back as 1794. A founding father thought enough of this forgotten little green to plant it with his own hands. What makes it strange is the season. While every other salad green shrivels in the cold, corn salad loves it. It comes up in the fall and holds green right through the frost and the snow, giving you fresh salad in December when the garden is bare. Old-timers grew it as their winter green when there was nothing else. Your Do It Now is the cheapest thing in the world. A packet of corn salad seed costs about $3. Scatter it in a corner of the yard in early fall, and you will be eating salad when your neighbors are buying wilted lettuce flown in from far away. But number 8 is one you will smell before you see it. Number 8 bows its head like it is praying, the nodding onion. It is a native wild onion, and it gets its name from the way the flower stalk curls over at the top, so the little cluster of pink bell-shaped blossoms hangs down toward the ground instead of standing up. It grows wild across a great deal of this country in meadows and on rocky slopes from the mountains to the prairies. Crush a leaf and there is no mistaking it, that clean, mild onion and garlic smell rising up. The whole plant is edible, the slender leaves, the small bulb below, and even those pretty pink flowers which you can scatter over a plate to dress it up. It is milder than the onion in your kitchen, gentle enough to eat raw. The indigenous peoples of this land used it for food and for medicine long before the first settler arrived. The bees and butterflies love the flowers too, so it feeds more than just you. Your action here is to learn its face this year because a warning comes with it. Whatever you do, do not eat any wild onion-looking plant unless it smells of onion, because a few deadly lookalikes wear the same green coat. And number 7, friend, has spines on it. Number 7 will bite you before you eat it. The prickly pear cactus. Most folks know it for the sweet red fruit, but there is another vegetable hiding on that plant that far fewer people ever eat. The flat green pads themselves, called nopales, are food, and good food at that. Down in the Southwest, in Texas and across the desert country, they have been eaten for thousands of years. You slice a young, tender pad, scrape off the spines with a sharp knife, and cook it up. The taste is green and a little tart, something like a green bean crossed with okra. Indigenous peoples of the Southwest and Mexico have prized it forever, both for food and as a medicine, and modern researchers have looked hard at the pads for how they may help steady blood sugar. Here is a fact worth keeping. A prickly pear can live where almost nothing else will, through drought and blazing heat, and still hand you a meal. Your Do It Now, if you live in the warm parts of the country, is to find a young pad at a Mexican market, where they often sell it already cleaned, and try it fried with eggs. But whatever you do, do not grab a bare pad with your hand. Ask me how I know. Number 6 can grow 20 pounds heavy. Number 6 is a giant with a crooked neck, the Cushaw squash. This is an old southern heirloom, a big striped gourd with a long curved neck, green and white stripes running down its skin, and it can grow up to 20 pounds. Folks down in Louisiana, Tennessee, and the Carolinas have grown it for generations, and some of them call it the Tennessee sweet potato for the color and the sweetness of its flesh. Here is why it beats the thing you know. When you cut one open, the flesh is a deep gold, and it is firmer and less watery than a common pumpkin. That means it makes a better pie, richer and not soggy, which is why the old cooks swore by it and would not touch a store pumpkin. It was grown by indigenous peoples and carried on by settlers, who knew a good keeper when they saw one, because a whole cushaw will store for months in a cool room. Your action is to look for one at a fall market or a roadside stand and bake it just like you would a pumpkin. Your Thanksgiving pie will never be the same. Now before we get to the top 5, remember the one at number 1, the little string of beads that saved a colony. We are getting closer. Number 5 will give you gas, and I mean that as a compliment. Number 5 is neither from Jerusalem nor an artichoke. The sunchoke, also called the Jerusalem artichoke, it is a knobby little tuber looking a bit like a piece of fresh ginger root, and it grows underneath a tall sunflower. That is right, it is a cousin of the sunflower, and the plant can shoot up over 10 feet tall with bright yellow blooms on top, so it hides its treasure down in the dirt. It is native right here, and indigenous peoples across New England and the Midwest grew and traded it long before any settler dug one. Roast the tubers and they turn sweet and nutty, somewhere between a potato and a water chestnut. Now here is the honest fact, and the reason old-timers grinned when they served it. It is full of a fiber called inulin that the body cannot fully break down, so folks nicknamed these things fartichokes. Eat a big plate your first time and you will understand why. Your Do It Now is to plant a few tubers just once, because they come back every single year on their own, so stubborn you will have trouble getting rid of them. But whatever you do, do not eat a huge helping the first time. Start small. And number 4 is the vegetable folks fight over every spring. Number 4 causes a stampede into the woods every April. Ramps, the wild leek. Up here in the Appalachian hollows, this is the taste of spring itself. It comes up as a pair of smooth, broad green leaves on the forest floor with a small white bulb below, and the smell when you pull one is powerful. A wild cross between garlic and onion so strong it perfumes the whole kitchen. Folks up here love them so much there are ramp festivals all across West Virginia and Tennessee every spring where whole towns gather to fry them up with potatoes and eggs. They were a spring tonic for the mountain people, the first green food after a long winter, and the indigenous peoples of these hills ate them long before us. But here is the hard part, friend, and I mean this. Ramps grow slow, taking years to come back after picking, and folks are digging them out faster than the woods can replace them. So your action is different this time. If you forage them, take only a leaf or two from each plant and leave the bulb in the ground. Whatever you do, do not dig up a whole patch. Leave some for the woods and for the folks who come after you. And number 3 can feed a whole family from one single vine. Number 3 might be the most generous plant you will ever grow, the chayote. It is a climbing squash, pale green, about the size of a pear, with deep wrinkles and folds like a fist that has been clenched too long. Down in Texas, Louisiana, and Florida it thrives, and in Cajun country they call it merleton and stuff it with shrimp for a dish worth driving for. Here is the record fact for you, and it is a true one. A single chayote vine, once it takes hold, can hand you 50 to 100 fruits in one season. One vine, one planting, a whole family fed, and the wonder of it is that nearly the entire plant is edible, not just the fruit, but the young shoots, the seed in the middle, even the starchy root down below. The taste is mild, crisp when raw like a cucumber and an apple, soft and tender when cooked. Your do-it-now could not be cheaper. Buy one whole chayote at the grocery, let it sprout on your counter, and plant the whole fruit. That is the seed and the start, all in one. But whatever you do, do not plant just one if you have the room, because 2 vines will bury you in squash. And number 2, friend, looks like the world's tiniest watermelon. Number 2 will make you look twice and then laugh out loud. The mouse melon, also called the cucamelon. Imagine a watermelon shrunk down to the size of a grape, the very same green and white stripes, small enough to sit on the tip of your finger. It looks like something a mouse would pack for lunch, which is just how it got its name. But bite into one, and it is no melon at all. It tastes like a fresh cucumber with a bright squeeze of lime, cool and tangy all at once. It comes from Central America, where the people there ate it long before Columbus ever set sail, and it grows just fine across the warm parts of this country. Here is the fact that will get you planting. A single vine can give you dozens, even hundreds, of these little fruits in a season, and the plant shrugs off most of the pests and diseases that ruin a regular cucumber. Your do-it-now is to buy a packet of cucamelon seed, just a couple of dollars, and grow a vine up a string this summer. Your grandchildren will not leave them alone, but whatever you do, do not tell them it is a vegetable. Now, friend, we have arrived. Number 1 is the little string of beads I promised you at the very start. Number 1 is the plant that kept this country alive, the groundnut. The indigenous peoples called it hopness, and the settlers came to call it the Indian potato. It is a native vine, a member of the pea family, and it does something almost magical underground. Along its roots it grows a chain of tubers, one after another like brown beads strung on a necklace, and each one is dense, starchy food. Now here is the payoff I have held for you since the very first minute. In the winter of 1620 and into 1621, that first killing winter at Plymouth, it was not corn that carried the Pilgrims through. It was the groundnut dug from the cold ground that they learned to find from the Wampanoag people. Those little beads on a string kept the colonists from starving to death, and this is no small potato. The groundnut has nearly 3 times the protein of a potato, and it is nearly a complete protein, the kind you almost never find in a plant. It grows wild across most of the eastern half of this country, along stream banks and in damp thickets, with reddish-purple flowers that smell of violets. And because it is a legume, it feeds the very soil it grows in, pulling nitrogen out of the air. Permaculture researchers today are working to bring it back as a food crop for the future. Your do-it-now if you want a piece of living history in your own yard is to buy a few groundnut tubers from a native plant nursery and set them by a fence this spring. But whatever you do, do not walk past a stream bank thicket again without knowing what might be hanging under your feet. Those little brown beads fed a whole colony through the winter that should have ended it, and almost nobody alive today knows their name. Now let us pull back and look at the whole sweep of it, friend. 11 plants, an alien bulb, a green from the sidewalk cracks, a president's winter salad, a nodding pink onion, a cactus you can eat, a crook-necked giant, a knobby sunflower root, the wild leek of these hills, a vine that feeds a family, a melon the size of a grape, and a string of beads that saved a colony. Every one of them was common knowledge once. Every one of them fed people who had no store to run to, and every one of them got pushed off the shelf, not because it was poor food, but because it would not fit in a truck. Here is what I want you to carry away with you. Knowing these plants is not just about a better pie or a stranger salad. It is about being a person who cannot be shut off. When you know what grows wild and free around you, when you can plant one fruit and feed your family, you are holding a kind of freedom that no store can sell you and no company can take back. That is what your great-grandparents had, and it is what we traded away for convenience. But the good news is that it was never truly lost. It was only forgotten, and forgetting can be undone. It is all still out there, growing in the cracks and the thickets and the damp woods, waiting for someone to remember its name. Let it be you. Before you go, do 2 things for me down in the comments. First, tell me which of these 11 you have actually seen or tasted, because I would love to know which ones still grow where you live. And second, tell me which one you are going to try first. I read as many of your comments as I can, and the stories never cease to amaze me. Thank you for spending this time with an old root man today. Look after yourselves and come walk the woods with me again. And if you will subscribe before you go, come back next time, because I am going to show you the wild plants along the old fence rows that our grandparents healed with, and one of them was in nearly every medicine cabinet in America 100 years ago before it was pushed out and all but forgotten. That is a story you are going to want to hear.